Hi, my name is Robert Berrio. This is a follow-up to a previous video about why I won't buy another Bosch e-bike. Even though the Bosch system of motor and battery management is reputed to be the best in the world, I'll give you 11 reasons why I won't buy another electric bicycle equipped with a Bosch motor. If you've seen my previous presentation on why I won't buy another Bosch, fast forward to the 3-minute mark. First, I have to say that everybody has a different reason for buying an electric bike. I have specific needs that the bicycle must be able to provide for. Not everybody has the same needs and preferences as I have, of course. Depending on the controller setting, most models of e-bikes can provide from 10% of the energy needed to move the bike and rider to 100%. The only bicycles that can achieve 100% are those that have a throttle. Bicycles without a throttle can never supply 100% of the energy needed to move the bike and rider because the rider must always provide some of the energy by turning the pedals. To continue on this line of thought, let me mention the contrasting technologies of my two electric bikes. This one is my Bosch Cube Touring with the Bosch Performance Line motor that operates on 36 volts and provides 63 Newton meters of torque. This one is my Pedego City Commuter, which has a 500 watt 48 volt motor. The company doesn't say how much torque it has, but it's definitely more than the Bosch Cube. The Bosch Cube has a mid-drive motor, that is a motor that's in the pedal crank. The Pedego City Commuter has a geared drive motor located in the rear wheel hub. The Bosch controller makes two kinds of calculations to decide how much assistance to give me: cadence and torque. Cadence is how fast I turn the pedals, and torque is how much pressure I apply on them. The Bosch system of calculations results in a smooth acceleration that feels natural and gives you the false impression that you're doing all the work and that you've become stronger. It replicates your movement but with amplitude. The Pedego control system calculates only the cadence. It just wants to know if you're turning the pedals or not. It doesn't care how much pressure you're applying to the pedals. The level of assistance you select dictates how fast you will go. When you start pedaling, the Pedego motor jerks you forward and gives you a thrilling acceleration, and when you stop pedaling, there's a lag before the motor suddenly cuts out. In contrast with the Bosch system, the Pedego's cadence sensor doesn't increase or decrease its force depending on how much pressure you're applying to the pedals. I found that the Bosch makes me work a lot harder than my Pedego. In Canada, the bicycle's controller must be set for a maximum speed of 32 kilometers an hour, whereas in Europe it must be limited to 25 kilometers an hour. If I want to ride at the maximum speed, I have to pedal very hard, and it's too much effort for my physical condition. My Bosch Cube has the Performance Line motor, which is the third strongest of the Bosch motors. When facing a strong headwind with my bicycle camper in tow, sometimes I can't go more than 18 kilometers an hour. If I pedal really hard, I can reach 22 to 24 kilometers an hour, but in those strong winds, it's simply too hard for me to maintain that level of effort. When I choose the highest level of assistance on the Pedego, I can ride at the maximum speed just by turning the pedals slowly with almost no effort. The most powerful of the Bosch motors, the Performance Line CX, would have been a better choice for me. It probably wouldn't make me work as hard. Another drawback of the Bosch is its extremely complex proprietary electronics. Last summer my Bosch motor stopped working in mid-ride. The computer system is so complex that it sometimes corrupts itself and the motor suddenly stops and you can't turn it back on. Fortunately, I was near home when this happened. You can't have this fixed at any bicycle store. Only a Bosch dealer is equipped to deal with that. The bicycle software has to be reset and updated by a specialized computer system. It only costs $12.50, but the point is that if this happens when you're far from home, you're up the creek. The following reasons are based on the absence of a throttle on the Bosch. I should mention here that in Europe this doesn't apply because it's illegal to have a throttle on an electric bike. Only Class 1 e-bikes are allowed, those that are designed to work only when the pedals are turning. When I'm riding in the city with my heavy trailer in tow, I found that with the Bosch, when I wanted to start up from a full stop, I had to give the bike and trailer a push with my foot to get it going, which was awkward, especially on an incline. I'm told that the new Bosch motors have walk assist, which might help in this regard. With my Pedigo, startups are really easy since I can simply give it some throttle to get me going. I happen to be 78 and I'm not getting any younger. When you reach this stage in life, you have to realize that as your body ages, its locomotion mechanisms from the hips down, the muscles, the nerves, the tendons, the joints, gradually wear out. So if you happen to be 1,000 miles from home when one of these ailments hits you, and you're riding a Bosch, which doesn't have a throttle, you're up the creek. But if you're riding a bike like the Pedigo equipped with a throttle, and your legs give up, you can continue as if nothing happened. The only ill effect is that you'll have less range, but at least you don't have to abandon your trip. Same thing if you're just tired and want a break from pedaling. Another instance when a throttle is essential is when you need an added boost rapidly. For example, you're nearing the top of a steep hill and the bike has slowed down too much. Or when you're in an intersection and you have to get across faster. Or you have to avoid a vehicle or a hazard of some kind. And you get chased by dogs. You can avoid getting bitten by raising your legs and escape by riding with the throttle. Or getting through a long puddle. The following reasons are all based on the advantages of a hub motor over a mid-drive motor. I find that with the Bosch, if I forget to downshift before coming to a stop, the motor seems to work much harder to get going in high gear than the Pedigo does with its powerful hub motor. If you aren't fond of changing gears, you would prefer a hub motor because you don't have to change gears as often. You could ride almost all the time in one of the two top gears and only downshift when climbing hills. I want my next bike to have a hub motor with regenerative braking. The big advantage of regen will be when I'm riding down steep hills with my 130-pound camper in tow. It will mean that I'm not relying on the bicycle's brakes to slow me down. In mountain regions, this would give me the bonus of free energy. And more importantly, according to Justin Lemire of Grin Technologies, my brake pads would last 3 times as long. Regeneration isn't possible with mid-drive because the motor freewheels when you stop pedaling. The other disadvantage of a mid-drive motor is that the chain ring, and cassette have to bear the entire force of the motor and the rider, which results in much more wear than with a hub motor. With a hub motor, the drive system will last a lot longer than with a mid-drive, therefore saving a lot of maintenance. Another disadvantage of the mid-drive is that if your chain breaks or jumps off the chainring and you can't get the chain guard off because Bosch Cube has made it so difficult, or the derailleur breaks, or something happens that prevents you from turning the pedals, with the Bosch system, you have to call for help. With a hub drive, you can continue with the throttle without pedaling, and the motor will take you home. There's another good reason why the Bosch just won't do for me. In the future, I may want to equip my Barrio bicycle camper with solar panels. The Bosch has a special charging system which unfortunately won't accept charging the battery with a solar panel. The only kind of charger that works with a Bosch is a Bosch charger. That of itself is a problem because the Bosch charger does only 2 things. First, it charges the battery to full charge and turns itself off. That's not the best option for a lithium-ion battery. Unlike the old lead-acid batteries which needed to be charged to full capacity, a lithium battery prefers not to be charged to its maximum capacity. If you charge the battery to 80% of its capacity on a regular basis, it would be able to accept twice as many charges over its lifetime, thereby enabling you to get more distance during its lifetime. On days when you don't need the full charge of the battery, you could charge it to 80%, and on days when you need more range, you could charge it to 100%, and you'd still be getting more out of your battery. Second, the other thing the Bosch charger does, it charges the battery at a low rate, because fast charging reduces the lifetime of the cells. Sometimes when you're on the road and running low on charge, it would be worthwhile to have the choice of stopping at a restaurant and charging your battery fast while you're having lunch, even at the expense of reducing its lifetime. But the Bosch charger has only one charging speed. So to resolve those two issues, you will need a programmable charger like the Cycle Satiator. This charger can be programmed to give you two charging choices, 80% or 100%. On those days when you don't need much range, you would use the 80% setting, and on those days when you need maximum range, you'd select 100%. The Satiator also has a fast charging setting, so it's capable of giving the battery a fast charge on those days when you run low on range partway in your trip. Finally, if I decide to ride my bike in the winter, it's much preferable to have a bike with a hub motor in the front wheel instead of a mid-drive motor. Having a motor at the front provides two-wheel drive while you're pedaling, so there's less chance of the front wheel sliding out from underneath you. With all these disadvantages of a mid-drive system, why would you choose a Bosch if you're buying an electric bicycle? Let me answer that question. If you take your bike to the dealer to have the software updated once a year, you might avoid the corruption problem that I had. One advantage of a mid-drive motor over a hub drive is that since the motor benefits from the bicycle's gearing, the motor can be smaller and weigh less for the same hill climbing ability, making the bike a few pounds lighter. More importantly, being closer to the middle, it makes the bike better balanced. That's an advantage for off-road mountain biking and dirt roads. ebikes.ca explains that the motor weight is located low, so it has minimal effect on handling, even in full suspension bikes. In these situations, you're often going slowly uphill through trails with short, steep sections, and a small motor working through the drive chain in the low gears of the bike can do this with excellent efficiency. Another example would be fat bikes riding on sandy beaches. These are areas where the bike is moving at fairly low speeds through high resistance terrain, and the mid-motor in a low gearing will do this with better efficiency than most hub drives, while still performing just as well on the faster roads. If that's your intention in buying an electric bike, then in my estimation the Bosch motor would be okay for you. If you'd like more information about electric bicycles or about bicycle trailers, or if you'd like to buy one of my books, visit my website www.robertberrio.com. If you haven't already done so, subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching, and never quit cycling.